at Tezpur, number 28 Squadron. I was commanding that, and at about 5 o'clock, at about 5 o'clock, Pakistan struck our bases in North India. And simultaneously at the same time we got the information at Tezpur, and we were told that the war had broken out and 28 Squadron has to move to Guwahati. That was our forward base for fighting, because from Tezpur we could not have attacked Dhaka. It would have been beyond our range. So in the evening of 3rd December itself, I moved my squadron to Guwahati, and we were in Guwahati by 10:30 at night. As soon as I landed at Guwahati, station commander of that station, Group Captain Mankotia, he came to receive me and took me to his office. At his office he told me, Bhoop, the war has begun and you have 2 missions first thing in the early morning tomorrow. He gave me the attack plans. We were to strike Dhaka airfield in counter-air operations, that is, to destroy the enemy aircraft on the ground at Tezgaon airfield in Bangladesh. After I look at the attack performer, I asked him for the map or any other information which is available with him regarding the Tezgaon airfield, because MiG-21 aircraft flying at 1000 kilometers an hour can not change its direction once it has straightened out for any target on the ground, and it takes just about 3 to 5 seconds to run over the place. So it is absolutely necessary that I know before I pull up for the attack what I am looking for and where the targets are. But the station commander told me that I have no information whatsoever regarding the target. Anyway, now we stuck with the option to do 1 attack or 2 attacks at the airfield, because in single attack we were not likely to see very much in the first time, but having run through the airfield in the 1 attack, first attack, second attack, we are likely to pick up more targets. I asked him for the accommodation for the squadron officers and the men. He said, you can operate from the VVIP room at Tezpur, at Guwahati. I said, sir, VVIP room is meant for very important personnel of yours. During the war, you will have a lot of air marshals and various other people from air headquarters and from your own command headquarters and other places will come or like to stay there, visit you. He says, well, only VIP today I have is you. So fine. We went back to the mess at about 11:30 at night, and next morning, first mission of mine was to strike Tezpur airfield at 07:05 Bangladesh time. I called my flight commanders and briefed them regarding the attack and asked them to come to the squadron in the morning at 4:30, because we were supposed to be taking off at 6:40. 21 minutes was the flying time from Guwahati to Tezpur. In the morning when I reached the squadron, I got a call from the station commander there, operation commander, Group Captain Wallen, that the visibility on the runway is very poor. Would you be able to take off? I said, sir, I'll go and see. And since we have worked so hard and prepared for this war for a long time, I will not like to miss this opportunity. And if possible, if it's slightest chance, we will take off. Anyway, next morning went to the squadron, prepared ourselves, and moved to the aircraft at about 6:15. Got into the cockpit, strapped ourselves. The atmosphere at the aircraft dispersal, where aircraft were parked, was very quiet. Everyone looked so tense at that time. The technicians had already slept on the rocket pods and loaded the guns. I started the aircraft and started moving out. I was taking 4 aircraft formation for the attack part of it, and plus 2 more MiGs with missiles on board for escort duties, because we expected that Pakistani sabers will be airborne before we reach there, and they will be circling over the airfield and would like to intercept us. As soon as I started taxiing out, got into the taxi track, what I see on both sides of the taxi track, the whole squadron personnel, the technician, the civilians, and the other staff had lined up. And they were waving and they were shouting Bharat Mata Ki Jai and wishing us the very best. I waved back to them and we got onto the runway for takeoff. 6 aircraft lined up on Guwahati runway. The visibility was very poor. We could barely see 1/3 of the runway in front of us. The rest was not visible. There was thick fog. But I didn't have the heart to turn back, so we took off. We took off in those weather conditions. Soon we cleared the fog, and on top, sky was absolutely clear. We set course for Tezgaon, flying at very low level, just above the treetop level. Below us was thick fog. On top, sky was clear. I did not see all those 20 minutes that I flew after takeoff the ground at all. We just flew on steering the course to Dhaka and checking with the time. But soon, after about 18 minutes of flying, 19 minutes of flying, suddenly the fog disappeared and I saw Dhaka town on my right at about 1 o'clock position. Right in front of me at that time, there was a river bend, there was a factory which was probably working, and there was smoke coming out of the chimney. So I fixed my position that we are the right place. So I pulled off for the attack. As I pulled off for the attack, I saw 2 sabers on the ground taking off. I called up the escort leader, whose name was Manbir Singh, but we used to call him Buzzy. I said, Buzzy, 2 badmash taking off center of the runway. Soon he came back saying, contact, we'll engage them, leaving you. That meant that he will get behind those sabers, try to shoot them down, but at the same time, he cleared also our tail, that there was no one behind us. We got into the attack. Straight ahead, there was open field, but I did not see anything whatsoever. No aircraft, no transport, no movement, nothing of the kind on the airfield. As we expected, that attack was not going to be very successful, so I just fired a couple of rockets at something whatever I saw and pulled out and told the formation that we'll do one more attack. Turned around 270 degrees, and this time attack across the runway, and we saw hangars, we saw some other things which looked like the transmitting stations, this and that, and fired at them. As I was getting to second attack, I saw one saber just coming from right, passing in front of me to the left, and behind it was a MiG aircraft. So I thought the escorts are doing a good job. After finishing the attack, we pulled up, climbed up to 6 kilometers of height and set course back to Guwahati. Soon after I set course. I heard Buzzy, Scott number 1, calling his number 2, asking, Dadu, where are you? Dadu calls back. He says, I'm in combat with the Sabre. I got worried because we didn't have that much of fuel to remain in combat as long as Dadu seems to have been. So I interjected and I called up. I said, Dadu, fuel. He says, 900 liters. That was just about enough from Dhaka to reach Guwahati. I directed Dadu, told him, disengage immediately and climb up to 6 kilometers. We are spreading out looking for you.
You want water? काफी टाइम हो गया मतलब आप भी थक गए होंगे.
नहीं कोई नहीं.
ना पानी भी ले गए.
नहीं don't worry, I have to do it like that. Okay, so soon he called us, disengaged, climbing to 6 kilometers. Now we started looking for him. I alerted the SU, that is the radar station, that there is a straggler MiG-21 behind us. Please look out for him. He is short of fuel. SU called up little later, saying that there is an aircraft behind you, about 20 kilometers at your same height. We spread out, but we couldn't see him because we were rather ahead of him. I kept monitoring Dadu's flight. At one stage, when I asked him fuel, he said 600, then he said 400, then 300. And I asked him, Guwahati in sight? He said negative, not yet in sight. So I told him that you eject only if the engine quits. Then he called up, fuel 200 liters, airfield in sight. So I told him, descend only if you can make the runway, eject otherwise. Alerted the helicopters from Guwahati airfield. They were airborne, looking out for him, and by then we had crossed into Indian territory. So one worry that he might have ejected in enemy territory was over. Dadu's aircraft landed safely, and on the landing run itself, his engine flamed out. So we almost lost one aircraft on that day for want of fuel and long distance from the target. Anyway, that was one incident. As soon as we taxied back after landing, most of the airmen I saw from distance were looking under the wings of the aircraft which were coming in. I wondered, I thought, have you picked up any damage to the aircraft or something seemed to happen? When I came out of the aircraft, I asked them, what are you looking for? Oh, they said, hooray, because all the weapons have gone. Like a pilot, my triumph was to go and attack, which I did, or deliver the weapon, but the glory or a kind of satisfaction which men got, that the aircraft flew without any snags all the way to the enemy territory and back, plus all the weapons fired. That was the first attack. That day I led 3 missions of the kind. We did the same thing for next 2 days. At the end of second day, which was on 5th afternoon, I went to the station commander. I told him, sir, we are not getting anywhere at Pakistani airfield because they have hidden the aircraft very well and they are only flying overhead. They are not leaving the airfield. Only way we can stop them is by bombing the runway. Because on 4th and 5th we already lost about 8 of Indian fighters over Dhaka. I said, sir, they will continue killing our aircraft like this if you don't stop them from it. And since you can't find them on the ground, on the air, in the air they are few and right over base or their own base, and they can fight for long period. Whereas I have only 2 minutes maximum to attack them if I can shoot them down. So he said that how are you going to bomb it? I said, I will do a steep light bombing. Steep light bombing is that You climb up to roughly about 5 kilometers of height, then dive about 60 degrees onto the runway, release your bombs and pull out. He was not very happy with it. He said, no, that's very dangerous. It is risky because when you pull up and when you dive, you will be in the sight of the sabers which might be overhead. Also, about 300 odd guns which are at the airfield firing at you for at least for a minute, minute and a half, you might be in their view, and they are bound to pick you up. He suggested we carry out low-level bombing, which is only flying low level and flying level, you release the bombs. If you, in that case, the bombs skip at time because angle is very shallow for the bomb hits the runway and then skips. It might go as much as 1 to 2 kilometers after skipping the ground and burst somewhere else. So I said, in that we'll have to require a lot of effort to get even one bomb on the runway and to do it. But whereas what I am suggesting, it might be a bit risky, but this is war. The risk is part of that game. And if we can get even 2 bombs on the runway, you would have made it. Because once you knock off the runway, Pakistani Air Force can't take off from there. They cannot, not only that, they cannot kill our own aircraft, but they are also killing the army and the troops on the ground wherever their own ground forces called for their help. So he asked the command headquarters, Eastern Air Command at Shillong. They had the same view. I insisted that we should do that way. The CSO of Eastern Air Command, AVM Bishnoi, personally called me up. He was the only fighter qualified person in the command that time. Air Marshal Harry Dewan, who was AOC in C, did not have that competence at that point of time. So he spoke to me. He says, Bishnoi, do you know what you are asking for? I say, yes, sir. I have spoken to all my pilots. We have discussed in great detail that how we are going to do it. And sir, I can tell you, whatever happens, we'll get you the results. We might lose an aircraft or two. If that has to be done, we are willing to accept that risk. He finally cleared and wished us the best. Next morning, that's on 6th morning, I led that first attack on Tezgaon airfield. I took 4 fighters with me. And mind you, we got all the 8 bombs on the runway. In the first mission itself, not a single aircraft of my formation were hit, and we came back. Command sent us a word of congratulations on that. Thereon, the Pakistani Air Force never flew from 6th morning onwards. Although they repaired the runway sometime in the afternoon, I went back in the afternoon on 6th and we plonked another 8 holes into the ground. They kept repairing it and we kept attacking it. And finally, on 7th night, they gave up. They won't anymore repair it because the runway was not made of any concrete as original. It was all fillings and a filling, then it was not strong enough. So Pakistan Air Force packed up. They sent all the pilots from there to the West Pakistan to fight their war, where the pilots reached only after the war was over. So we neutralized the Pakistani Air Force and then concentrated on attacking on the radio station, on the armament depots and other fortified areas of the Pakistani army, where our troops on the ground were finding difficult to cross them. At one time, we were told that some aircraft was, American aircraft was coming to Dhaka and to evacuate the American and other foreigners from Dhaka because there were no other means left. They couldn't have left by sea. Navy has blocked it. They couldn't have left by air because we won't let them. And by ground there was no choice. Only one choice was there, to cross from Burma side, east of Dhaka and all that. That was also blocked by the army by about 7th or 8th of December. So only choice was to evacuate under some diplomatic arrangements. But this aircraft which was coming has not got the Indian government's permission to arrive there. We were given a task: shoot it down if you find any aircraft coming in from anywhere. I sent a mission of 2 MiGs. They went, flew around Dhaka and everywhere else, and found no such aircraft coming in. Now, to keep the army otherwise on their feet and on that, not to let them rest day and night, we kept bombing the cantonment area of the army at Dhaka. Pakistani army officers wanted to leave Dhaka. So we heard the information that some ghost airfield exists also somewhere in north of Tezgaon, and from there the helicopters are operating. I was given the task to find that ghost airfield and destroy it. We went next day, did find that place about 20 kilometers north of this thing, an old Second World War abandoned airfield from where they were operating. Anyway, it didn't take us long it took us only one attack to neutralize that. Somewhere around 14th, not somewhere around, exactly on 14th, I had gone back, I had gone for one mission to Comilla area, and I just landed around about 9:30 to around 9:30, 10 o'clock, when the station commander came and he said, "There is one very important mission to be undertaken, so you prepare that and go for that." I asked him, "What is the mission, sir?" He says, "There is an important meeting taking place in Dhaka, called by the President of East Pakistan, Dr. Malik, which was to be attended by General Niazi of the army and the bureaucrats and other high officials. And this meeting is taking place at 12 in Dhaka at the circuit house." So I asked him where the circuit house is, because we don't know the geography of Dhaka city as such. Airfield we have gone many times and seen. We know by and large what is there, what is not there. So he pulled out a tourist map, and on the tourist map he showed us this location of circuit house in the Dhaka city. It was right in the middle of the town, with high-rise buildings, very congested, high-density population area, many roads converging onto it. So I had a look at the map and told him, "Is this, sir? This is right in the middle of the city. We'll find it and we'll hit it also, but there is going to be a lot of collateral damage. A lot of civilians might get killed, and other properties around there will get hit and destroyed." He point blank told me, he said, "None of your business to think in those terms. You are given a task, you just do it. The rest we look after it." Fine, sir. I briefed my pilots. I took 4 aircraft, briefed my pilots, and set off to board our aircraft. As soon as I got into the aircraft and started it, and was about to taxi out, I saw one officer from my squadron running, waving a paper in his hand towards me. I stopped, waited for him to come, and as soon as he came, he said, "Sir, there is a change in target. It's not the circuit house, it's the governor's house." I said, "Beg your pardon?" He said, "It's governor's house, not circuit house, your target now." I said, "Where is governor's house?" He said, sir, now you find out that. Because we were briefed for the circuit house, I briefed the other pilots in the circuit house. I had located the circuit house on the map, but governor house, I had no idea at all in that big, huge city. Where do I find this little building flying at 1,000 kilometers an hour at low level? Anyway, there was no choice left because, as I told you, it takes only 1 minute to reach from after takeoff to Dhaka, and we always work our startup time and taxi time based on the time that we are supposed to reach the target, working backwards. So I couldn't have switched off and gone back to this West Colony headquarters and looked up the maps all over again and briefed the pilots. So I taxied out. I did not inform the other three of this change in target, because to inform them, I would have to call them on the radio, and that is a universal transmission. Anyone else could have heard it, and we could have totally lost the surprise of our attack, or our intention would have been known to the whole world before we took off even. Anyway, I kept quiet about it. We taxied out, took off, en route, I pulled out that tourist map from my pocket. You must be quite aware that fighter cockpit is so cramped that you can barely fit in the pilot inside it. There is nothing else you can put into that one. Even to put your hand into your pocket is quite an ordeal, and require both hands, one to handle the throttle, other one to handle the control column of the aircraft. Now, third hand you don't have. But since we have been going to Dhaka up and down for last so many days, we are very familiar with the route now. It was like going to Connaught Place. So I pulled out this map, had a look at it. It took me some time to get an idea where this building could be. It was to be somewhere in southeast of the airfield. I informed the rest of the squadron as we reached, as I saw Dhaka approaching on my right. Then I called up, I told them that there is a change in target. Target is governor's house. It is a building of biggish building you will see somewhere in the open spaces. Please look out for it. And as we are approaching the airfield, and I headed towards south of the airfield, from quite a distance on our left at about 10 o'clock, it's coming from 11 to 10, I saw this building, which looked like governor's house, but I wasn't sure. Now, to make sure, we kept flying low and not to break our surprise. Went past this building. I saw the huge compound around this building, and there were a lot of cars were from different roads heading into the gate. Some cars looked like the military vehicles, jeeps, Jaguar type, and all that. So I went quietly past this place, had a good look at it, and I thought, yes, that is the place. So I called off formation. I said, that's a governor house, let's attack. Went round. I attacked the governor's house first. My rockets hit just below the dome. I saw my number 2, 3 and 4 fire. We went round again, fired the second attack on the Dhaka airfield. With our hits, there were a lot of dust, smoke and kind of flames were leaping out of the building. Fully satisfied, having done our job, we set course back to Dhaka. I believe, and I have a recording of the journalist, American journalist who was present in Dhaka, who described what all happened. What exactly happened was, as soon as the first rocket hit the building, Dr. Malik Niazi, the American counselor who was present in the meeting, they all ran for a trench nearby, jumped into it. Dr. Malik pulled out a hanky from his pocket, put it on his head, bent on his knees and said his prayers. After the prayers, he asked the American counselor for paper and pen and wrote his resignation from the civil government of Pakistan, and immediately left for International Hotel, which was the Red Cross area, religious sanctuary sent to all the foreigners and the people who wanted to surrender was given. That was the end of the civil government in East Pakistan. After that, the administration was handed over to General Niazi. The reign passed on to the army. And General Niazi, on the outset, said, I have enough men, enough weapons, enough rations to fight for months, and will fight to the last man, last bullet. That was on 14th. Same day, Niazi's headquarters from cantonment area, which was under constant bombing most of the period of the war, shifted to Dhaka University buildings inside the town. Now to chase him further and make him scum, we were ordered to attack his headquarters in Dhaka University. Dhaka University was inside the town. My squadron was given the task again. I led that first mission on Dhaka University. And believe me, when we were attacking and pulling out, the buildings on both sides were above us. People from the balconies were waving at us. And we pumped in almost